Jenny.
It is Monday, the 21st, 10 days away from Halloween.
As I'm drinking from my reindeer mug, shout out Meseret Ceramics.
And I have my Island Time Tervis. Shout out to Tervis. And to Margaritaville.
But that's water in her cup.
Yes, it is. It is. It is water.
Just wanted to make that clear.
Hydrate. See? Today's topic. There's more going on than what it seems because I'm drinking water.
Yeah.
It's not always what it seems. That was the topic.
Things aren't always what they seem, right?
Right.
You might think I'm drinking water, but I'm drinking tea.
Right. I remember going to the T-ball field and us moms having a field day with our coffee cups and what we may or may not have been drinking. But it wasn't coffee.
Mom of the year.
Yes. The whole group of us. So I can't, it's just not me. It's a whole group.
I think it's probably most parents. I remember us when we were kids.
Yeah.
Anywho, tell us who you are, Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle with Moksha Grace Coaching. As my voice goes weird. And I help people manage their emotions and their triggers so that their emotions and their triggers don't manage them and they can respond instead of react appropriately for their higher self, their higher good, versus self-sabotaging relationship situations because they reacted from a place of the past. Normally fear. A lot of fear.
Yeah.
So that's what I get to do.
Love it. And I am Krista Barone. I am a fractional CEO and ops consultant. I essentially help people run their business, help them do all the things behind the scenes, those annoying projects to others that usually are technical in nature or just operations oriented. I help you take care of all that so you don't have to, and you can focus on your clients, your service, your product, whatever it is.
And amazing at it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So we have an interesting topic today.
That should just be our slogan. We should change our slogan to, we have an interesting topic today.
Well, I normally say fun, but today I said interesting.
Ha!
So I think it's going to be very interesting where this goes.
Get us started.
Well, what is going on behind the scenes? And there's always something going on, more going on than what you realize.
Oh, yeah.
And I think
my career's based off of it.
Exactly. You are the behind the scenes. You are the wizard behind the curtain. And that's how you got that first nickname, Wizard of Ops. And it's so important because it can be positive like that. That's awesome, right? What does it take to run a show? What does it take to run a haunted house? What does it take to run a Disney park? Hi. Hello, Jenny. I was going to say hi, girls, and just read your comment, but hi, Jenny. Training a horse. There's always more. And I sent her a video of this woman who is just doing this amazing job of training a horse. There's always more that's going on behind the scenes than what you can actually see with your eyes. And so sometimes you have to feel into it. You can sense it. Your emotions, your hair goes up in the back of your neck sometimes. Sometimes it's an emotional thing. Your emotions are triggered for some reason, and maybe you can't put your finger on it. What are your thoughts?
I was thinking, is she just covering the whole episode right now? Should we just end it 5 minutes in? No, I think there's a lot of things that aren't what I think most of our lives are not what they seem, to be honest with you. I mean, social media has created this idea of perfection and consumerism and all of these things. So in this day and age, I think most things that we see are not what they seem. I mean, we can't even trust photos and videos online because of the way AI is being used. Um, the way that one of the major political figures right now just did an interview that was cut up so significantly that you really don't know what was said because they cut up the interview so much. And so another political figure is requesting the actual full thing because you can't tell because it's, strategically edited or, things are put in post to make, certain things sound a certain way. And so it's just, with the day and age that we're in, the only thing that you can trust are, I mean, you can barely trust your own eyes because of the use of AI.
Right.
Maybe you can trust the things that you hear, but can you? Because with AI, it also makes fake sounds like that Justin Bieber song that went around that was not real. Can you trust your taste buds? As of right now, you can mostly trust your taste buds, unless maybe, I guess, if you're on like a psychedelic thing, maybe not. Sense of smell, I guess you could technically trust, though Disney has created ways to put popcorn,
Manipulate
scent,
you.
and cookies in the air, even though there are none in the area. So I think it's a very interesting time that we're in right now, which is the only thing that leaves left to trust is your intuition and your gut. Um,
Yeah.
and everything requires looking into it to determine what's real and what's not.
Yeah. And I'm so happy that you brought up the thing about the political piece. I saw something last night that was just a I mean, he's a prominent figure in, podcasts, and they manipulated his words to make it sound like he's supportive of one thing, a person, and he absolutely is not. And anyone that follows him would know that's absolutely not true. But it was so well done and seamless that you could barely tell. If you don't know the person, like if you haven't watched the person and followed the person and their uh, enlightenment in today's world, you wouldn't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
um and yeah, and there's stars now, singers that are coming out and they're calling it out and they're rising up and they're not putting up with it,
Mm-hmm.
and they're speaking out against it. And I mean, to the point where they're showing messages and letting people know what the truth is, because that's the only way that you can live authentically, really. But how sad that we have to like prove ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, just kind of we've talked about it quite a bit in the last few weeks because I think it's so important is that, the election is coming up. It's only, 2 weeks away. The early voting, I think, opened today. Um, so many people just go into the voting booth knowing maybe a name. They haven't looked into the amendments. They haven't looked into, the different justices that usually you vote or should they stay or not. They haven't looked into anything else but something like the president or the governor or whatever. They know one name. And so, and that's what a lot of politicians rely on is that you just happen to recognize their name, so that's who you go with, or you saw their photo and they were more handsome or more beautiful, so you pick them just based on that. And
Right.
that actually is like something that they have statistics on that's how so many people vote. Is just right, Jenny. Maybe it's just you just check off all Democrat or check off all Republican, and there's no actual research into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where, we run into problems where all of a sudden 6 months later we're like, how the heck did this person get voted in? And it's like,
Right.
well, because you based your opinion off of just their political party, or you based their opinion just on the ads that
Right.
were on the TV, which we talked about last week. They're so emotion based, it's so ridiculous. Like it's embarrassing how emotion based the ads are. But it's so important to actually look deeper into things. And we gave the example last week of, one of the big things, one of the presidential nominees, which she technically wasn't actually nominated, but anyway, they're banking on certain narratives of the other side. But when you actually look into it, there were specific reasons why that other side didn't vote for something or voted
Right.
against, pushed against something. But they're taking just that one little sliver. And if you're just going along and you hear that, then you're like, oh, that other person's a jerk.
Right.
But actually, that other person is looking out for interests that you didn't even know were part of that other thing. And so it's just, there's so much smoke and mirrors that you have to look into things. You cannot just base it on a party name.
Okay. So you said ads and you said smoke. So I have to bring this up because I've been getting text messages because I'm a reformed Democrat, and so I get these stupid text messages. And so this one ad and this one message that I keep getting is like, and it's 12:12. Vote against weed or you're going to be, it's the horrible smell is going to be everywhere and there's going to be smoke everywhere.
Oh, that was the ad we saw the other night. Oh my gosh. And so in Florida, one of our amendments is to legalize recreational marijuana use. And there was an ad when we were watching a hockey game that literally came on, and it was people sitting in a community park, and the entire basis of the ad was, oh God, the smell. Okay, I don't know what kind of parks that y'all have, but if I smell marijuana, that's the least of my concerns. I'm more concerned about the overwhelming pee smell everywhere, or like diapers that weren't thrown in the garbage. I'm not worried about the smell of marijuana. Are we serious? Like literally, I'm not even joking, you guys. That was the entire basis of the commercial. That's it. Was that the smell is annoying.
And the smoke was going to be everywhere. And my thing is I'm sorry, I would rather smell weed than I would cigarettes. I mean, don't get me started on that.
Pee, dog poop. I mean, you can name a whole. I mean, I could keep going.
And listen, pot smokers are not going to leave a little bit of a joint, which would be called a blunt, but I just know this from research. I mean, from reading books.
Okay, stop. It's weird when you explain it too much. Just go ahead.
But anyway, they're not going to leave like people leave cigarette butts everywhere. You're not going to have that issue. Like,
this is like the argument of you got to look through your kids' Halloween candy because they're putting drugs in it. Nobody is giving drugs away for free, especially to children. They are trying to get more clientele, not children who cannot buy from them. Nobody is putting drugs in candy.
Back in my day, it was we had to take the candy to the hospital and have it x-rayed to test and see if there were razors.
Okay, so you get radiation in your food that you're now consuming? That's
well, again, there's always more going on behind the scenes than we're aware of, right? Because back then we didn't know any better. And so
if anything, you know what? You're right. Maybe what's happening is that was a clever ploy to get parents to look at candy to realize that the ingredient list is disgusting and their children shouldn't be eating that garbage. You're right. You know what? Never mind. You know what? Maybe they are putting drugs in candy and you should look at it and you should pay extra close attention to the ingredient list and see, are they listing crack cocaine on the ingredient list? Oh no, it's just red dye number 40, which has been proven to be petroleum. Anyway, I digress.
Probably even worse for you, but whatever. Let's put the red dye in there. Let's be afraid of pot, but let's eat red M&Ms. I mean,
anyway.
Anywho,
I went off a little bit there. Sorry about that, everybody.
I'm sorry, but the ads just, when I saw the ad and then I got a text message of the same thing, like, do you want to be walking on the sidewalk and have smoke blown in your face and it be pot? And I'm thinking, first of all, if you're smoking pot, you're probably not going to necessarily go take a 2-mile walk. It's not.
Jenny, that's hysterical.
Jenny, you have no idea how long it has been going on with red dye. Wasn't it red dye number 9 at some point, or was it always red dye 40?
I have had a thing against red dye since the first time I tried red velvet cake like 15 years ago, and I got so violently sick afterwards. I've never
Mm.
touched red velvet since because the red dye just hates me and I hate it.
Yeah. Well,
Bottom line. Which,
yeah,
you know, we shouldn't hate things. I strongly dislike it, but whatever. Same thing. Anyway.
yeah. Anyway, so the bottom, I mean, not the bottom line, because we're nowhere near the end of this conversation. But this part of the conversation is look into things for yourself and don't just go by the stupid ass ads that they're coming up with,
Yeah.
because they're doing it to they're doing it just to, I don't even know why they're
Well, we
doing it,
talked
because they
about it
don't
last
even
week.
make sense.
They're doing it to play on emotions. If you are not in control, we talked about this last week on, I think it was Moment of Presence. Show on Thursdays, 12 p.m. If
Shout out.
you are not in control of your emotions, you are very easily manipulated. And so
Yeah,
if they can play on people's emotions, they can blind them from actually seeing the logic behind it.
right.
They
Right.
they can blind them from seeing, oh, well, actually that loosens up the laws, which means more people who need it medically but don't have an official diagnosis can access what they need. It means that you have less people going to prison and jail for something that is so stupid that they're getting time for and a record
Mhm.
for. Meanwhile, other states are using it recreationally and their economy is booming. There is actually ends up potentially, I believe, less drug use all around. Like, it's not,
Mhm.
I mean, this is also, we're talking about marijuana. There's patents by the US government about how beneficial it is and the medical purposes of it. So, I mean, it's just all around, it's
Right.
silly. And another example of things are not always what they seem. But I
Right.
also don't want this whole episode just to be about marijuana because neither of us use it. And so it kind of is weird to me that we're hyper focusing on it a little bit.
Well, I mean, but here's the thing: the the things that are put out there by the leaders above us and in another state that starts with a W, uh, when they say don't do something, or they're giving something for free, or they're trying to bribe you to do something, these are the things that we should pay attention to, because there is something going on behind the scenes that you're not
Wait,
realizing.
so you're telling me if the government is offering me free Krispy Kreme donuts, I should not just do whatever they say?
As hard as that would be for me to turn down a Krispy Kreme donut without red dye 40 in it, I would say absolutely do not partake, because there is a purpose.
You mean to tell me
Yes.
that if I'm told that I cannot travel unless I do this thing, that's, you mean to tell me that is total manipulation and blackmailing?
Yes, and you should check into that to make
Whoa.
sure what is really going on.
Whoa. You are blowing my
Yeah.
mind right now.
Yeah, I know. Just like when I worked in healthcare, I was told one thing about masks, and then I was told something different.
There's a post going around. It's been going around for like 5 years now, where it's like the schools are sending out notices that say like, "Don't, your children are not allowed to wear masks to school because they're distracting." The parents are like, "Wait, what? Now they're distracting? They were distracting 4 years ago, but now they are. Okay, great, awesome, appreciate that." Things are not always what they seem, people.
There is so much going on.
You know what?
Every
Here's another good example. We're both sitting here. People may be sitting here watching, going, you know what? I bet these women are 5'7". Nope. I'm only 4'9", 4'10", 4'10".
I'm
You're
4'11
4'11".
and a half.
You would
Excuse
never
me,
know.
a half. Don't forget about my
Well,
half.
I'm technically 4'9 3/4", but the lady put 4'10" on my driver's license, so
All
whatever.
right,
I'm just
fine.
claiming. I mean, really, when you think about it, 3/4, it's basically 4'10". So, I mean.
Jenny, we're here all day.
Well, for the next 10, 15, 20 minutes.
So, Jenny, have you had any of these situations where you realized there was more going on behind the scenes? Let us know in the comment. And anyone else that's watching, because I see that there's more people watching, let us know that you're here. Say hi, give us a shout out, make a comment, and share out with someone who you also feel needs a little giggle today.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, and you know what? That's a really good point, because how many times have you been a part, you're watching something, or you're in a group with some friends, or you're out to dinner, and two people start laughing, and there's obviously some kind of a
Inside joke.
inside joke going on, but you feel left out, but yet are you
Or
really
even
left
worse,
out?
you feel like they're laughing at you.
Right. And how many times is it just because they've been friends maybe longer? They've had a different kind of relationship. It doesn't have anything to do with you. But
Yeah.
how many times do we take that on ourselves, and we always go to we always jump to the worst case scenario? Most times. Not everybody, but most times we will jump to the worst case scenario.
Well, and we make it sort of a habit to always assume that everything's about us also. You know,
Well, yes.
everything, if people are looking in a weird direction or they're giving you some sort of grimace or whatever, it's always that it is specifically, personally about us. And it's just like, it's so not the case.
Okay, so I will not share all details, but this once happened to me in a group of friends. There was a situation, and we were all going to go away on a multi-family vacation.
Okay.
And I I had to make sure that we did not go. And I had one of the friends call me, bitch me out, and tell me that not everything was all about me, and that when I don't get my way, I take my toys and I just go home. And in reality, what was happening behind the scenes, I will refrain from sharing the whole story, but there was a lot going on behind the scenes that they were not aware of. And I actually was doing it for them, to protect them from a situation that was going to not end well.
Mm-hmm.
And so things are not always what they seem. Hey, Adam. And yes, Jenny, she didn't mean to be. And that's the other thing, is she didn't mean to be a bitch. She was calling me out because she thought I was being a witch.
Hello, Lewis. Thank you for the love.
Hey, Lewis. But it was because I was protecting everybody,
Mm-hmm.
3 families,
Mm-hmm.
from something that could have really been bad.
Yeah.
Um, and that happened in PTA too.
Yeah.
I had to out the VP because there was some stuff going on, and I promised that person to protect her daughter that I would not share what was going on. And so I had to ask everybody that sat on the PTA board to trust me that I was making the best decision, but that I also was keeping my word and doing what I needed to, but she had to step down.
Yeah.
And not until it came out after the fact, when she let it out, did everyone come back to me and go, wow, thank you. Wow.
You're a
So
bigger woman than I am.
there's always something more going on, and you have to ask questions. You have to dive in. You have to
Yeah.
be like the Scooby Doo group, and you have to think like that.
Yeah. Well, and I love that example that I put in there because it's so, I just love, we don't necessarily think about it so much when we're kids and we're watching something like Scooby Doo, but it really is such a great program in the sense that all of the monsters are just everyday people. And in some episodes, they were people that were close with the group. And it's, they would put on their monster mask and try to scare people and do all these things, but they were just average people underneath. And that goes back to politics and friends and family and all of these things. As people are, actually, we just had an episode, what was it, last week or the week before on Moment of Presence, which was literally take off your mask.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody these days is wearing a mask.
Yep.
And so you really have to be mindful and careful. And again, going back to last week's episode, is getting in control of your emotions so that you are not easily manipulated. Something it's hilarious, but I have people get annoyed with me because I see too much of what could actually be going on. So if I'm dating someone and it doesn't work out, I'm going to see all of the possibilities of that, and most of them have nothing to do with me, or maybe it's just that we weren't a fit, but I'm don't think I'm capable of like hating a person because
Right.
it didn't work out. Or friendships, I'm going to think of all of the circumstances that were surrounded when that person hurt my feelings or whatever it was.
Right.
Or in traffic, when someone cuts me off. Not as good at that, I'll be honest, but we could look at that as maybe they're in a rush. Maybe they just got great news. Maybe they just got bad news. Maybe they're just having a moment where they're a little like out of it and they didn't even realize that they cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different possibilities to everything. We have to get better at A, removing ourselves from taking things personally, B, looking into things when we can and not just blindly following something,
Mm-hmm.
and C, seeing other perspectives. I lost my train of thought there for a second. Seeing other perspectives of what else could be going on. Someone once told me a long time ago, and I think we referenced this before on a different episode. Someone once told me a long time ago, if you're ever feeling like there's a bunch of people, like there's situations and people and whatever that are like, everything is your fault, literally say to yourself constantly, it's not my fault, not my fault, not my fault.
Not my fault.
To get yourself out of the habit of it.
Yeah.
And that can be really effective. But yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not going to lie. My original thought with this topic was, we got an election coming up. I don't know why we're all trying to avoid talking about it, because it is what it is. There's an election. People are on different sides of it. It is what it is, but we can't not talk about it because that's what they want.
Yeah. And the thing is that I watched two different things last night. I watched a video of President Trump, and he was in a room talking with a bunch of women, and they were asking him questions.
Mm-hmm.
And this one woman was asking him a question. She was a single mom, divorcee, had a horrible accident, broke her back. She's standing there at the mic and she's trying to talk and trying to get these words out. And she's in the middle of having a panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
And he took the time to like give her a moment and kind of like draw the attention away from her. And he answered a question, but like went into something else real quick to give her a breather, and was like, you don't have to be like, kind of like, you don't have to be nervous. Like, we're just talking, and just calmed her down. But to see all the women around her, white, black, every ethnicity was there. And it's so important because this election is not and should not be about race or anything else. It should be about the United States and our rights, and what is being taken from us versus what is being given to us.
What we have the possibility to have and to do. And I just want to go back because there was also, I saw a video, it was so cute. And to me, this is like the biggest testament of supporting women. There was a rally and there was a baby that was crying in the background, and it was a Trump rally. I saw a clip of it, and Trump literally stopped to say, oh, I love babies. Don't even worry about it. It's totally okay. That is the sound of life and of love and whatever. And like something like that, I almost want to get emotional about it because we all know, I mean, have I had kids? No, but I can relate because I've had nieces and stuff like that and nephews and whatever. When your kid starts screaming and hooting and hollering and crying and all of these things, it is mortifying if you're in like a group space. Right. And there's really nothing I can do to get my kid to stop crying, to
Right.
have someone be like, no, really, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Like, it's all right. That instantly soothes that person down and makes them feel like it's okay. And I think it's so important that those kind of visuals are coming out, because I remember, and this was when I voted against Trump, I'm not even gonna lie, years ago. The big narrative was like, oh, he's against women, he's against women. He has
Mhm.
that famous line that he said at some, I think it was a model event or something. He's gonna grab something. And
Mm.
it was so funny to me that so many people got upset by that. And it made me, what made me think of it is I watched the movie The Ugly Truth yesterday. And in it, it's they're talking about how, oh, I'm sure the guy that you're interested in would never think about something like that. He's too mature for that. And it made me think of this situation too, because it's like, if you think that your brother, your father, your husband, your uncle, your
Mhm.
whoever is not speaking like that in their group chat, is not speaking like that on the golf course, is not speaking like that at the baseball games and stuff, you
Right.
are out of your mind.
Or
It is the same way that us women say the things that we do in our group chat.
oh, absolutely. And here's the thing, and to think that any other president, and there's been many that have done way worse than just say something. Because if the White House walls could talk, yeah, exactly. So, and then I was watching something else last night that was interesting because it was I forget who the two guys are, and they're really really super smart, and I'll share it in the comments if I'll remember their names. And the one guy was like, "You all are being fooled
Mhm.
because Kamala's not as dumb as you all think. Think of who she was raised by." And he literally said to the other the guy that was interviewing him, he's like, look it up right now. Look it up while we're talking. Look up who her father was. Look up what kind of economic like professor he was. Look at what he represented. And then look at how she's acting and kind of like dumbing things down. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Why are we dumbing things down?
Well, it's
Because
like
Americans are not dumb.
no, it's the same concept as you can't have voter IDs because a certain
Oh,
race can't get IDs. Are you joking?
just
How much more can you put people down? Like, it's just so mind-boggling to me, the things that come out of, and this is a perfect example of like something comes out of someone's mouth that they're playing on your emotions, but then when you step back and you go, wait a second, what does that really mean though? What that
right,
means is that a certain demographic is deemed as too poor, too stupid, doesn't have the right privilege to get something that's not even
right,
accurate. Like, it's so wild how things are twisted and manipulated. And the entire basis of what today's conversation is about is things are so twisted and manipulated, especially in politics, to get you to feel a certain way.
right. And that means open up your eyes and
Mhm.
start getting curious as to why things are. I mean, you can't, you can't, you have to show your ID
To get into Costco,
to get
to
it,
BJ's,
to go to go to Costco, right?
probably
To get
Sam's
into
Club.
PJ's, to go into Sam's Club, to go fly somewhere, to I'm trying to think, to go get your kids, pick your kids up from school. So you're going to tell me that a whole demographic that can't afford or they're not smart enough to get IDs, how are they picking their kids up from school early when their
Well,
kid called out sick?
it's also just insulting to an entire demographic of people.
I
It's
mean,
just wild to me.
I don't understand. I
It's
don't get it. I don't
wild.
get it. Do you guys get it in the comments?
I
Please,
don't get
please let us know.
I
Do you
don't
get
get
it?
it, girl.
Because I don't understand. And for those that say, oh, well, they came to this country. Yeah, my grandparents, they came to this country too. And they busted their ass to prove who they were, how to get an ID. They had to go through the test. They had to make sure that they could recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Well,
They,
stop. So one of the other things I want to touch on with this is this is a perfect example too of something that is twisted and manipulated to become a party issue. How is something like that, what we're talking about, which is voter IDs to vote, or your identification to vote, how does that become a party issue? That's the basis of our country, is a fair and honest vote. And so what's interesting is even something like that is a very basic foundational thing, becomes a party issue.
Right.
Because it's twisted and manipulated to where if you think that people should have IDs to do something like vote, again, a basic foundational principle of a fair voting system, somehow that's then linked to the Republican side of things, the conservative side of things, which then, based on the narrative, also makes you racist, homophobic, sexist, all of these things, just because you think that we should have fair elections.
Wouldn't a fair election be that all of the United States citizens get to vote? Except if you're dead, because, I mean, you shouldn't, because if you're dead, you're dead, but yet the dead are even voting, but they don't, I guess they don't have ID anymore.
And,
so,
I was just talking to someone about this the other day. Of all the technology advances that we've had in the world, why would it take longer to count votes now than it did 10 years ago? Why is there more security issues than there was 10 years ago? I mean, we've gone from what, like iPhone 4 to iPhone 14 in 10 years, and our voting system is still a problem. Like, it's just all around is wild. And the basis of today's conversation, again, which is things are not always what they seem. Another great example is a very big platform that came up, I don't even know the timeline of it, that was a 3-letter acronym that was supposed to be raising money to help those of a certain race. And it came out that their leaders were actually just using all of the money to buy themselves mansions and big pieces of property, and actually not helping those that needed it. And so another example of things are not always what they seem.
Did I read the other day, or was it just like a nightmare I had, that there's some that are questioning whether the Declaration of Independence should be thrown out?
No, it's the Constitution. There was a New York Times article that came out that said the Constitution might be the problem. I can assure you it's not. I have read the Constitution myself. It's not the Constitution that's the problem. It's the politicians that are the problem. But I mean, Jenny, very serious. Yeah, it's you can actually find the article online. And yeah, it literally talks about that maybe the Constitution is the problem.
And what was that in again? The New York Times. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The New York Times.
You know what? This is bringing up a great point too that I want to mention. If you are resonating with the idea of looking into things a little bit, just to be more educated before you go into
whether you agree or not,
right? Just to be aware of both sides and be able to really speak to it. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I would just like to say too is you can't just look up on one news station. I mean, these days you really can't trust any news station, but you really, when I say look it up and research it, I don't just mean like going to CBS or like CNN and looking at one article. It means actually taking time, sitting down, looking some things up. Literally every year that we have an election, my process is to print out an early ballot for my state, print it out, or just, have it written down. Yeah, that's probably, I'm sure she did, Lewis. And that's another thing of, manipulating emotions and manipulating situations to get people. Because here's the thing. Sorry, quick tangent. Here's the thing. When you say something enough times, people are going to believe it, whether it's true or not. Think about back when we were in school. What were we told? If you write something down 7 times, you're more likely to remember it. And so if someone keeps repeating the same thing over and over again, it's not necessarily even that you're going to believe it, though many people will. It's that it's the last thing that you remember. And that's why AI is actually very dangerous, is because these videos come out. Like this Justin Bieber song that came out, for example, supposedly. That was going around everywhere. I don't even know how many times I saw that post.
Mm-hmm.
Even just if Justin Bieber comes out and says that's not a real song, people are still going to believe that that's a real song because that's what they've heard more times than that one time they heard it's not true.
Right.
Or, let's say the day before the election, some crazy video comes out about Trump because most of the negative stuff is about Trump, just given the dynamic. Right. There's not necessarily enough time to prove that that's not real. And so people will run with that and believe that it's real, even if it's not.
Right.
And that's what's so dangerous about having our media be so biased, is that people are not getting the actual information. They're just hearing stories over and over and over again, to where, I mean, how many videos have we seen of people being interviewed on either side, asking them about situations from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago that have proven to be false, but they still believe it to be true. Right. And that's the entire premise of things are not always what they seem. So that then circles right back to, you have to look in more places than one. And so what I do is every election, that's right, that's what I was talking about. Every time there's an election, I print out a copy of what the ballot looks like, and I literally go name by name. It does take an hour or two. It takes some time, but it's worth it for me because I want to know who I'm voting for. Mm-hmm. I go name by name, and I literally look up what are their policies, what are their interests, what are their background, because I want to know for sure whose name am I attaching myself to. I even go through the justices, and there is barely information on them, but I literally go through every single one. What are some of the cases that they voted on? What does their voting look like? What is that? What kind of things are they voting yes and no to? Because I want to know who I'm associating myself with.
And you even help to explain the different
I'll even put the reasoning on there.
Right. Mm-hmm. And what's great is that she makes copies, after we have a family discussion, she makes copies. And so her father and I all go into the voting. We get our voting done very quickly because we've done our research beforehand, or Krista's done our research and helped us understand it. And so we literally go in with our cheat sheet and do all of it. And
then put on there, this is what I'll be voting. This is what it means to vote this way. This is what it means to vote that way. Actually, I don't put who I'm voting for, but I put this is what it means to vote this way. This is what it means to vote that way. So that way, you don't have to tell me who you're voting for. That's on you. But at least you have the factual information and not what the commercials about smelling weed in a park are telling you to do.
Going back to Lewis's comment, though, I can assure you, for as much as I know and research, that President Trump is one of the ones that knows the Constitution, probably could recite it himself, knows it back and forth and back, up and down, side to side. And no, he's not going to throw it out. He's going to uplift it and hold it where it needs to be.
And something we talked about, and something we talked about last week too is, there's a lot of people up in arms about the fact that he made it so that the topic of abortion goes back into states' hands. But that is actually, we kind of harped on a little bit last week, but you want less power for the federal government. You want more power for the state government, because it's very hard to change things federally, as we saw. But that giving that power back to the states is where you're giving more power to the people.
Right.
Because at the federal level, you just have a handful of people compared to, a handful of people that were voted in compared to the population, that they're deciding on things for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so if they do a little alley-oop and decide, oh, LOL JK, I've got some money in this thing over here, so I'm actually going to vote that way.
Right.
You're shit out of luck. But if something is state-based, you now have more power. As a person, as a citizen of the United States, you now have more power. But if that's in the federal government's hands, not so much. And so you actually want more in the state's hands, not less.
Right. And it's interesting because when you think about it, why is there such an influx of people moving to Florida and Texas, Jenny? Mm-hmm. Why are people moving to these two states that are more lenient on certain things? And we've had more freedom in the last, let's just say, since 2020. Why are so many people moving here? And so if it was a federal mandate or a federal law, we wouldn't have choices to
Mhm,
just go across the state, border. We would have to, like, leave the country.
mhm,
um that's scary.
mhm.
That
Yeah,
scares the shit out of me.
yeah. I also just want to say this because I saw a post about it the other day, and a lot of people don't know this. We are actually a constitutional republic. The United States of America is. We're technically actually not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. So that's a little fun little way to kind of dip your toe into doing some research on our country and the laws, and
Hmm.
what that all means is we are actually, contrary to popular belief, not a democracy, but a constitutional republic. And that is part of why our Constitution is so incredibly important. Little
Yeah.
fun fact for you.
Thank you for that
You're
fun
so
fact.
welcome.
I love that. Yeah, research, 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 and the people that you may not like or you think are not good
Hmm.
may be the ones that are standing up for you, and you
Oh
don't
my
realize
gosh.
it.
We just talked about this in your news, or you just talked about this in your newsletter yesterday. Was that sometimes the people who rub you the wrong way, or that you have some
Yeah.
conflict with, tend to have personality traits that you share, but you don't necessarily want to face, or you don't want to admit
Hmm.
that you have. So it can actually, and I know we've talked about it before too.
Yeah.
A great way to kind of build up um, your tolerance to hearing things that are opposing to your views is to actually just kind of force yourself to watch them, or force
Right.
yourself to have conversations with those
Hmm.
people. And so this would be actually a perfect opportunity to kind of kill two birds with one stone. Is if you really can't stand Trump, watch some of his content, his speeches, his rallies, his stuff like
Yeah.
that. If you really can't stand Kamala, watch some of her stuff and really challenge yourself to figure out, what is it that I don't like. And so let's say you watch a Trump rally or something, and you go, well, I don't like it because he's lying. Take that opportunity to then look into and confirm that the things that you think he's lying about, that he is. Or if you're watching a
Hmm.
Kamala rally, or Kamala speech, and you're thinking, I just, maybe there's something about her that you don't like, look into that a little bit more. What is it that you don't like? Confirm that for yourself, because the amount of people that I've seen that have said, and I'm sorry, but most of it is against Trump, but have said, "Oh, I don't like him because he's racist or he's sexist." Okay, well, can you tell me a specific example of where that happened? Well, no, but I've heard that he is. Okay, well, let's look at what are the examples of
Right.
where he acted in that way that would make it seem like he's those things. Um, and it tends to be very hard to do, because that is how the media has created that situation.
It was very interesting. Well, two things. I had an aha moment about Kamala, and when you said watch and see if there's something that you don't like about her, and then think about yourself, like the mirror. And there's, in
Is
the
it
old,
the cackling?
yes, and there so in the old days there, well, I still cackle sometimes, but that's a whole
Oh
other
my god,
story.
I can't believe I guessed that.
I actually had security called on me when we were away on vacation because I was cackling, like laughing so
The
loud
other
that
the other
somebody complained.
people the other people said there's somebody that's laughing, that's cackling loudly, and we're trying to sleep.
Having too much fun. But but that is a point for me of
Mhm,
watching her, because there were times in my previous career
mhm,
where I would laugh or act like, and I'm just going to say the stupid blonde type,
mhm.
to, because I didn't know something, and I would want to take the I like change the subject, or distract people, and so I would just like
Mhm.
and just like act so stupid, and it's like, this is the president. This is somebody running for the fucking excuse me,
You
the
don't have
president of the United States. Should she really be cackling and laughing and trying to distract us?
that
And what
brings
is she
up a
distracting us from?
that
Sorry.
brings a really interesting point up, which is, if you can keep yourself neutral because the other side is so hated, you give yourself more of a shot than trying to just be who you are and risking being hated more than the other side. So
Right.
that's really interesting that you phrase that way, because that just made me think of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so then the other aha thing was I saw a post by somebody who I very much love, no matter what their thoughts are,
Mm-hmm.
and posted this post that not necessarily was political, but was kind of, and it was about, giving, you give up your wealth for somebody else. And it was a story about the Titanic, and they gave up their spot to people that were more needy. And so the husband and wife stayed on the Titanic and died. And all I kept thinking about was Trump didn't get paid. He denounced getting paid as president.
I think denied, but yeah.
Denounced, denied, whatever. He turned it down because he didn't need it. He doesn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was huge. Like that was to me, that's huge, and it's never talked about. Like it's never mentioned.
I got one for you. Let's say one of the and I don't know if it is. I feel like it probably is because they tried to do it in the past 4 years. But let's say one of the big talking points is that, well, if I get into office, I'm going to forgive your student loans.
Mm-hmm.
That's great, but if you can't afford groceries, I don't think it really matters. If you end up on the street, I don't think it really matters if the economy has fallen so hard that you can't even just afford to be under your basic necessities. I don't think something like that is as important as just being able to feed your children or get a job or keep a job.
Or feed your children good food without red dye or all the other carcinogens that
Yeah,
are in our food,
yeah.
or 3D printed meat.
We don't have time to talk about that today, because if you think Krista versus Red Dye number 40 is hardcore, hold on, let me find the comment the brilliant comment by Jenny. If you think Krista versus Red Dye 40 is intense, don't get me started on lab printed meat versus Krista, okay? Don't get me started on Impossible Burgers versus Krista, okay? We don't have time for that today. We're already hitting 53 minutes that we've been live. I'm going to need a whole episode just on that. And maybe while that episode, Things Aren't Always What They Seem, part 2.
And it's so funny because I'm like, I feel like this is like our coming out party. Like, I feel like we're just like letting it all out.
How sad is it that the way that society has been created is that we have not wanted to say much about anything and our beliefs and thoughts because we've been so afraid of other people writing us off and other people shutting us down because we have thoughts that are a little bit different. I mean, that it just goes to show you how not okay society is right now, but getting better. That there are people who are afraid to just share where they're at for the fear of being attacked in some way.
Right.
That's not okay.
And by the way, if you've ever watched a Trump rally and you've ever seen the people that are attending that actually weren't paid to be there, but they were there because they just wanted to be there, it's peaceful. It's fun. It's YMCA, like YMCA, like it's peppy and it's fun. It's not let's go kill the beast. Like I was going Beauty and the Beast, sorry. But some people think that that's what like MAGA is, and it's like
think it's like a
freaking break.
Some people think it's a three of the same letter rally, and it's not. Three strikeouts in a row, I'll say.
Right.
For those that know baseball.
Which is just so interesting because
it is a manipulation. It's an emotional manipulation tactic. If you can demonize one side, you get that stuck in their mind and they can't see past it.
Right.
It is a classic emotional manipulation technique, and I will die on that hill. Let's go back to
So
Krista
here,
versus
so
Red Die 40, Krista versus emotional manipulation tactics. Jenny, this is
how do you know that the other side isn't manipulating and emotionally manipulating us? And
that is a very valid question, and my answer to you is that I have done research.
don't go to DNN, the disinformation
I have looked
network.
past the emotional manipulation tactics, and I have looked through to see what are the actual things that have been signed off.
Right.
What are the actual, like, it is well known, if someone brings something up, I will literally pull up the
article.
Thank you. I will literally pull up the article. I will literally pull up the court documents. I will pull up the actual law and read it line by line. And those in my family know I will literally tell you that that post is complete BS on either side. And there's a lot of it on the conservative side too of, oh, look at this thing that was just done. I actually just read through it, and that language is really kind of twisting the words. It actually means this, this, and this.
Right.
So it's taking the time to read through that stuff. And does it take some time? Yes. But is it worth it? Also, yes. Because I know confidently that I believe in what I believe in for a reason.
Right.
I'm not basing my thoughts on what CNN or Fox News or whatever is telling me. I have looked at the paperwork myself. I have read it myself. I have looked at what does it mean if I vote yes? What does it mean if I vote no? So that I can confidently know that I am making the right choice for the things that for the core values, hitting on last week's moment of presence, the core values that I have.
And going back to that, that's why it's so important to know what your core values are, is so that you can say yes to the things that align with your core values and no to the things that are keeping you from acting within your core values.
Absolutely. And here's another thing I want to say. With that, if your core values mean that you vote on the Democratic side,
do you?
Fantastic. At least you're voting from your core values. But if you are just voting based on a party title, or you're just voting because you really don't like the other person, but you can't articulate why, we got to do better as a society than that. Yes. And both sides are guilty of it. Republican side too. But I have absolutely no hate or judgment or anything for anyone that believes in something different, because everyone's core values are different.
Right.
And that's perfectly fine.
And I used to think, and I remember doing this at least one election, where I was like, you know what? I'm not voting for either side. I'm going to vote independent. Yeah, and you know what? It does no freaking good.
You know what? I'm so glad you brought this up. You know what I was thinking about earlier? Because I saw someone post the other day, we can, nothing's ever going to work when we have a two-party political system.
Mm-hmm.
Life itself is dualistic.
Right. It's the law of polarity. Hello.
Yeah, I was thinking, isn't that interesting though? Is that there's so many, and I once was thinking the same thing, but really everything in life is dualistic. So how can we expect a party system not to be? Everything else in our life is. So just something interesting. I haven't fully kind of thought through that yet, and what it means and the implications of it, but I just thought it was interesting. That kind of dawned on me, the little message that popped into my head of, well, wait a second. Everything is dualistic, light and dark, masculine, feminine, earth and moon, ocean and land. I mean, everything is dualistic.
Ebb and flow, up and down, in and out. It's the
raw and cooked.
It's the universal law of polarity, which is something I will be talking about later tonight. That there's two sides. That's it. Mm-hmm. If you have more, then you're going against the universal law, and now you're in chaos.
Yeah.
Now you are in chaos. And then that's when you have to bring it into you.
Even this is dualistic, left and right.
We are created. Together. We are created right? Masculine, feminine. We are created in duality. My gosh, my words today. We are created in duality, but we are brought into one. And what are we going to? We're all going to the same place. And guess what? It's one, one, right? It's source, God, universe, whatever you believe in, it's one. Unless you believe in Greek mythology and you're just going to go to the gods. And I just watched Chaos. And if you haven't watched it on Netflix, go watch it because it's freaking insane. Um, Good show, but chaotic.
I was really hoping we were going to end on you saying one because it would have timed out perfectly, but that's okay.
It is a good reminder of why it is all one.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't have a bunch of chaotic gods out there and nobody as the source. There's always one source. One. That's it.
And on that note, thank you so much for joining us today. This might be our longest episode yet, but I had a great time. Thanks for joining us. Michelle,
I hope everybody got something out of it.
Yeah. And, please feel free if you're watching this later, put stuff in the comments. We'll see it. Michelle, where can everyone find you?
Mokshagrace.com and anywhere on social media under Moksha Grace. If you can't find us later because we've been, shut down, you can always find us on Rumble because hopefully we're going to start that soon. You can book a call with me and we can talk about how we can work together and what would be appropriate for you. I also have a monthly subscription where we do weekly group coaching. So feel free to join the community because we have topics and we talk about the topic of the week. And also Moment of Presence is on Thursday. I'm just going so fast. Moment of Presence is on Thursdays at 12 o'clock, so please join us.
Wherever you're watching this now is Moment of Presence is there too.
And this is the episode I have been waiting for.
Yeah. Which is, we're afraid of the witches? Question mark?
Which is, we're afraid of the witches? So, yeah, join us because that's going to be one hell of an episode.
Yeah. And you guys can find me real simple, wickedwisdomconsulting.com. Also on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that. Feel free to reach out. Again, I do fractional CEO and ops consulting work. So if you need someone to help you run your business, you need someone to help you get some of those projects done that have been building up. If you just don't want to have to do everything. My slogan is helping business owners get back to doing what they love and living their purpose. Because most people didn't get into business to run a business. They got into business to help their clients, provide a service, provide a product, whatever it is. I help you take care of all the stuff on the back end so that you can stick to doing the stuff that you really, really love. So reach out to me, wickedwisdomconsulting.com. You can book a free consult. You can book a networking chat. It's all on there. See a full list of my services. Yeah, we just have a conversation.
Yeah. And I'm going to end today with just one last thing. No matter what you believe, whatever resonates with you, definitely take with you today. Whatever doesn't, if you are, absolutely on the other side of our thoughts or what have you, as long as you're being authentic to yourself, you're good. And we respect you for being authentic and making a stand for your choices. That's what we're doing, and we would expect other people to do the same. Absolutely. And we can absolutely love, accept, and and just we're all beings. We all came from the same place. We're the same energy, and so we have to love each other no matter what we believe in. It can be different. It's okay. That's what makes us us. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to kind of end on that because we talked a lot about a lot.
You can tell my cheeks are all red from talking so much.
Yes, but it was fun. Thank you for coming to our coming out party, so to speak.
We've been hinting at it the last few weeks. What are you kidding? I think everyone knows.
Anyway, have a great week, and we will see you on Thursday.
I thought you were going to quote. I love you, man. And we will see you then, or we will see you on another time. Bye, everybody.